We'll start with the Giants, and then we'll get into a little bit of Jets. And both seasons have been over a long, long time ago. And we know the Giants have made some decisions. Out is the head coach and Brian Daboll. Out is the defensive coordinator and Shane Bowen. Out is the assistant defensive line coach and Brian Cox. We'll see exactly what transpires with their general manager, Joe Shane. Mike Kafka getting a look as the interim head coach to see if he can be a serious candidate. And Kafka's got a good reputation around the National Football League. Has interviewed for head coaching jobs around the NFL before. One of them being specifically the Seattle Seahawks. But gets an opportunity here and has been here a while. Whether he's calling plays, not calling plays under the guidance of the previous head coach and Brian Daboll or not. But Kafka's got former player at Northwestern, quarterback in the NFL, backup more so than anything else. But a guy that has got a good reputation around the National Football League. Do I think he's going to get a serious look for the New York Giants? I do not. But the Giants yesterday against the Minnesota Vikings, and you knew that they were going to go out there and try and run the football, which they did. Someone's got to understand me, because one of the bright lights this season for the New York Giants has been the quarterback in Jaxson Dart. Yes, we've been critical, and he's been defiant, especially after that Patriot game when he took the hit along the sideline about this is the style and fashion which I played. I played in high school. I played at USC. I played at Ole Miss. This is the way I'm going to be in the National Football League. But the point being is, well, it's really not going to go out and be all that sustainable, right? And we saw him already. He's been checked for a concussion on 5 different occasions, and he suffered a concussion earlier on in the regular season where he took a hit, fumbled the football against the Chicago Bears, right? But that's not really, kind of the debate. I just don't understand when you go into a game, and I understand that there are limitations of what the Giants can go out there and do. I'm growing tired of watching Darius Slayton drop footballs. I'm growing tired of Theo Johnson, who is a big 6'6" target. I'm growing tired of Theo Johnson going out there having the ball go right through his hands, as it resulted in an interception yesterday against the Minnesota Vikings. Like, those storylines are growing tiresome, right? Cumbersome. They're frustrating to watch, tough to see the kind of same mundane drumbeat nature that has been Giant football for the last 3 years. It really is, where it's been a lot of losing. But yesterday was a learning experience when you're going up against Brian Flores, right? And a Brian Flores-led defense. Even without their best pass rusher in Grenard, even without one of their starting safeties, you knew what Minnesota was going to go out there and try and do. Disguise their coverage in the secondary. You knew that they were going to bring pressure. We understand Andrew Thomas suffered a hamstring injury during the course of the game. He's probably going to be shut down for the rest of the season. John Runyon was not available to play. Him and his wife had their first child. That was announced about an hour and a half before the game. Congratulations to the Runyons, right? But you knew that Giant offensive line was going to be put to the test yesterday. You knew that Jaxson Dart, he was going to go to school yesterday, right? Because, Flores was going to go and he's had success as the defensive coordinator, seeing a rookie quarterback for the first time where he's been able to confuse. And what's the one thing you want to do with quarterbacks is make them hold the football just a drum beat or a beat a little bit too long, right? Make them think. Don't have the game. Make sure the game speeds up. It doesn't slow down. That's going to be to the detriment of the offense, and that's going to be to the positive nature when you're looking at opposing defenses. And that's exactly what Brian Flores did yesterday. But, to not attempt a pass for large stretches of that game, to the 144 mark of the second quarter, when the development of Jaxson Dart is priority number one. And I get you want to go out there and try and run the football. And listen, Giants could have won that game yesterday if Abdul Carter was not offside, which negated the Javon Holland touchdown. Burns, obviously, with a tremendous play and a fumble by J.J. McCarthy, and he got knocked out of the game with that right hand injury. And then he saw Brosmer in the game, the former Minnesota Golden Gopher, who was terrible earlier on in the regular season against the Seattle Seahawks. You saw him in that game, and as Minnesota Viking team held on for dear life. But I just didn't understand necessarily the game plan when you're looking at Dart, who clearly did not want to scramble, did not run. They didn't have designed runs, wasn't going to go out there and take unnecessary hits. And you could say, well, there's limitations to what the Giants could do offensively. But why has he regressed, to an extent? And maybe it's just a long season. Maybe he's beaten down. Maybe that's the instance. But why exactly, where he talks the good game, he talks about the fact of how winning is important. And I understand that there are Giant fans around this tri-state area that are celebrating, that want the number one overall pick, and then mortgage that number one overall pick if somebody falls in love with Mendoza, the quarterback out of Indiana. But That is not the same Jaxson Dart I watched yesterday that I saw take on the Denver Broncos. That really isn't. That's not the same Jaxson Dart that I saw before he got knocked out of the game against the Chicago Bears. That is not. They are not one and the same. My question is, the game plan that Kafka put together yesterday to limit the impact or limit what Jaxson Dart was going to do in that passing game, maybe it was because of concerns along the offensive line. Maybe it was because of concerns about the weapons. I mean, I just didn't understand that aspect of it. And you've grown tired when you watch this Giant team for the better part of the last 3 years about what has defined Giant football, and it really hasn't been much. Really hasn't been much. It's been a lot of losing. That is what has defined Giant football. There is no clear identity of exactly of what you are going to get from the New York Giants week in and week out, and that is going to be incumbent if Joe Shane sticks around, whoever the new head coach is. And I've said it time and time again with doing the show with John on Saturday mornings right here on WFAN, Giants Talk Back Live, or whether it be on my Football Sunday show right here on WFAN. I think the Giants have got to bring somebody in that is going to basically, hold everyone accountable. Like, the nonsense with the New York Giants has got to go out there and it's got to stop. There needs to be an identity to what this team is going to go out there and be. What they're going to be offensively, what they're going to be defensively. I'm not telling you that it's got to be the Patriot way and go out there and do your job. No, I mean, you can have the personalities, but the nonsense with Abdul Carter has got to stop. And you've seen it before with other guys this year. I don't need the defensive line coach coming out there and defending Dexter Lawrence after Lawrence gets criticized by Carl Banks on the Giant broadcast. I mean, come on. And it all goes away when you start winning games, but you got to bring in a head coach here that's going to hold these team accountable and define what Giant football is going to mean moving forward here, because it's time to start winning. It's time to start winning. It's tough to watch a Giant game where there's a half-empty MetLife Stadium taking on the Minnesota Vikings late December with Christmas around the corner. And that's tough to watch. Where the parking lot is half full. That is tough to watch. It's tough to watch a game where Giant fans are going out there complaining how boring the game is because the game plan that you put together, because you have a fear of God of the quarterback going out there, either taking an unnecessary hit or making a critical mistake, and you're trying to win a game ugly. Tough to watch. Tough to watch Darius Slayton continue to drop footballs. Tough to watch. Tough to watch Abdul Carter go offside, which negated the Javon Holland touchdown. Tough to watch. Tough to watch Theo Johnson, who, big target, athletic kid out of Penn State. World is his oyster, can go out there and completely play the position, but he's got stone hands. Tough to watch. And you've gotten that time and time again, because I ask anybody out there, I ask any Tom, Dick, and Harry, right? What exactly defines the Giants here in 2025? What has defined the Giants in 24? What defined the Giants in 23? What are you going to get? Because there was a time when you thought about the New York Giants where you knew exactly what you were going to get. It might not equate to a win at the end of the day, but you knew what you were going to get. You're going to get great offensive line play. You're going to get a defense that was going to get after the quarterback. They were going to play smart. They were going to go out there and take advantage. They were going to have a quarterback that could throw through the wind at Giant Stadium, or now MetLife. You could run it when you needed to run it, and that's the most important thing. When you look at NFL teams, you can have a good ground game, but here's the deal. Can you run the football when the opposing team knows you need to run the football? That's the difference. What defines the Giants now? What exactly are they? What do they want to be? And that is going to be up to the new head coach that steps into that building about, this is what we are going to be. This is an organization that's been to 5 Super Bowls, has won 4 of them. And once again, there is the air of change during the course of this offseason. We understand they're going to be looking for a new head coach. Who knows? Maybe they're looking for a new general manager as well. Maybe they do a clean sweep following this season. The general manager withstood the initial rash of change. We'll see if that transpires following this season. But this can't be about how it looks or the process. It's got to be about the results. Listen to D'Amico Ryans yesterday after the Texans knocked off the Vegas Raiders and won that game 23-21, right? and Houston has now won 9 straight games. What's the most important thing? It doesn't necessarily mean how it looks. It's a matter of finding ways to win games. And this is a Giant team and an organization that needs to learn how to win. Play good football week in and week out. Play smart football week in and week out. Define exactly what Giant football is going to be. And also have an understanding of what you need to do week in and week out. Nobody wants to hear about close losses. Nobody wants to hear about one-score games. Nobody wants to hear about where the roster is now as compared to 3-4 years ago. You know, the National Football League, you look at it year in and year out. You know, the New England Patriots, who had a 4-year absence from the NFL playoffs, right? Punched their ticket with that 11-point fourth-quarter comeback last night down in Baltimore against the Ravens. They were down at one point in time, 24-13, win the game 28-24. Wheels came off for Baltimore late with Snoop Huntley at quarterback after Lamar Jackson got knocked out of that game with a back injury late first half. But here's the point. The Patriots are the poster child. Now you might say, well, Mark, how are the Patriots the poster child? Because last year, the Patriots were in the abyss. What brought them out of that abyss? Vrabel, to go along with a dynamic second-year quarterback in Drake May. They didn't make all the splashy moves in free agency. They brought the right people in that knew that they were going to buy in. Yes, did they have a favorable schedule this year? For sure. You still got to go out there and win the games. And that victory last night by the Patriots was a statement win. Now you might say, why? Well, it was a statement win by the Patriots last night because the week previous, they blew a 17-point lead at home to Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills, and they were down 11 in the fourth quarter last night. You want to know the last time the Patriots came back from that kind of deficit in the fourth quarter? Have to go all the way back to the Super Bowl against the Atlanta Falcons when they were down 28-3. As Christmas is around the corner, as we're about to ring in a new year in 2026, for the New York football fan, it has been once again a long football season. And I feel for you. It's tough to watch. It's tough to talk about. The Jets are doing themselves no favors. We'll get into a little gangrene as well. Don't worry about that. I'm not going to leave them untouched on this Monday. But as far as the Giants are concerned, didn't understand the game plan yesterday. And once again, you look at a game in which, regardless of who the DC is, regardless of who the HC is, regardless of who the assistant defensive line coach is, this team needs to learn how to make winning plays and find ways to win games. As Ryan said yesterday for the Houston Texans, doesn't matter how it looks, got to win. Got to win. And it's time for the Jets and the Giants to figure out a way. And the Giants are closer than the Jets. You know why? Because they have a quarterback. And this whole idea, and I understand he has not looked particularly good as of late since Daboll left the building. I get it. Didn't understand the game plan yesterday. The Giants have found their quarterback. Don't worry about that. Don't lean into the idiocracy out there that's being thrown out there about the Giants moving on from Jaxson Dart, trading him, and bringing in Fernando Mendoza. I mean, that is not happening. You know, but this is what happens. When you do a lot of losing and you need something to talk about, sometimes people like to throw you-know-what up against the wall and like to see if it sticks. You know what I'm talking about.